Now, I guess the unfortunate thing here, and we haven't really lost on this just yet. I'm down 32% at the close. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know how else to put it. It's unfortunate, but just stringing together a series of losses that have really come, I wouldn't say from bad ideas. I would just say it's the same thing that happened with Apple. Like, and I keep reflecting back on that trade where we were obviously in a stock that was selling off or being accumulated or whatever the case may be. But you're not going to have a big move, right, in terms of continuation or multiple days of continuation until a campaign's fully built out. Right? It's always going to feel like you're going uphill on an icy slope. It's going to feel a little bit more difficult. And you have to kind of understand that and be willing to scale out quickly. And if you do scale out, right, be hesitant on adding back. That's the big thing. And I think my issue lately has been one, and it's been very, very, I've been vocalizing it a lot, is my expiration choice, right? Being a little bit too quick in terms of how quickly I think the move's going to happen and not giving it a lot of time to ferment and really build out. Um, right? And I think I need to be safer with that. We saw that with SPY. We saw that with Tesla. It doesn't really give those names times to play out or time to play out. I'm sorry. Um, and then from there, right? It really comes down to, I mean, dude, like I've had so many positions now. Where, well, specifically Apple, Tesla, I did the same thing. SPY, I even did it today. Where I'm getting quality swings overnight or quality trades, to be honest, off of the areas that I'm taking the trade off of, but I'm trimming half. And if you guys notice, every single time it pulls back, I'm adding back that half, right? Almost as if I'm expecting a continuation when the tape is either not calling for it or the broader market's not calling for it just yet. It's something that I've been reflecting on, and it probably won't change until we have earnings come about, right? Where we get brand new buyers in the tape, campaigns are finished, big money's kind of accumulated, whatever they want to do or distributed, and we'll have a new season, if you will, where new people are piling into the stock. We're going to see multiple days of continuation, weeks of continuation, instead of this, 1 day sell off, reaccumulate, sell off, right, and then a small push. Uh, Next day, push above that high just a halfway, and then sell back off to the lower range. And it always feels like it's an uphill battle. Um, I just think moving forward, I really just want to focus on just the earnings names, and I really want to lock in on just taking profits, man. Like, just take profits on some of these trades, close out, maybe keep one on hand, two contracts on hand, and not really concern myself with adding and trying to double dip on pullbacks because it's been killing me lately. Like I said, I'm down like 23,000 or something like that. Uh, you know, Fingers crossed, SPY works out. I might be able to mitigate it down a little bit, or maybe if something crazy happens this week, we get that move to 518. I'll probably have a different story for you guys. But as of right now, it's not looking good. But yeah, I just wanted to recap this really quick. Kind of what happened. I mean, really, right? We had this NFP low here. We had a bounce off of that and push to 518. I was expecting us to push the top of the NFP candle. Really, there's a lot of liquidity down here. And once we ended up sweeping it and moving up, typically we're going to test the upside of that liquidity as well. And then I was expecting a sell-off, to be honest. But obviously it came way quicker than I expected. And then this day here, of course, we ended up breaking down and kind of bouncing, right? I don't have TradingView on right now. I guess I can pull it up if I need to, but the 50 MA was the reason for this wick, right? And it was a two lower low accumulation for a move off of the 50-day going into today, right? Obviously, there was the Iran-Israel conflict, and this ended up opening up pretty high, right? We ended up opening back in the NFP range, and I was looking for us to pull back and either hold 512.76, which is the NFP low, and then continue higher, or just outright push, right off the open and make our way up to 518.22. Now, that didn't happen, and it kind of fell apart because of two things, right? One, as it pulled down to 512, what did I do? Right, I added back the half that I trimmed. And then, of course, what did it do again? It made its way down to the Friday low, which is 412s, right off that 50-day again. And then it tied in really nicely into an hourly imbalance that I'll show you guys here in just a second. We'll go here, equities. Right, well, oh, let me go here. it gonna show on a 4 hour? I don't think it will, guys. There was an hourly gap that I've been talking about for quite some time now. In this range, right? That was a London fill, and New York session did not fill, right? So I was looking for it to hold like that 508 spot. I think it was like right here, right? Yeah, it was like right around here, like right around here, right? It wasn't anything super crazy. It was those two white lines, okay? And basically it broke down under 50908, which is Friday's low, and then I added there, and I pretty much was tempted to add again in this gap, but it sunk through that gap really quickly. It doesn't look like there's any buyers that were willing to defend that, and then really quickly traded to 503. Now, my thinking is Monday, right, is usually not going to be how the week turns out, okay? Typically, we'll see a higher low of the week formulate on a Wednesday, and then you'll either see a Thursday Friday reversal or a Thursday Friday continuation. And if that Wednesday move, right, is very, very high volume, right, typically you'll have a rest day or you'll have like a period of 2 rest days. Just really depends, right? It's pretty crazy to see that big of a move on a Monday. I do think we reverse a little bit here, and I thought there was no better time than to go long than down here, right? A lot of people are eyeing this exact gap at 503, and one of the best things to do is trap retail traders in gaps, right? A lot of people think it's very, very easy money. Once it sinks into a gap, they go short expecting it to fill. You guys have heard about the gap trap that I talk about quite often, and I don't think there's really a better time with Powell tomorrow. We have bank earnings. We have Johnson & Johnson, which is going to affect the healthcare sector. You have data. You have, let me look exactly what we have. I kind of lost open trading view really quickly. Yeah, building permits tomorrow. What else? What else? Fed Chair Powell at 115. Wednesday we have durable goods, right? Thursday. Oh no, that's next week. So tomorrow is just Powell. We have Powell, and then on Thursday the 18th, yeah, we do have unemployment claims. Thursday we also have whatchamacallit, TSM reporting, which is going to obviously affect semis, SOXL, SMH. More importantly, maybe help NVIDIA and some of these other names kind of recover and get back on track. I think TSM is going to beat, and I think TSM is going to have a big move just based off the chart. MU should see a good sympathy. So overall, semis could lead this market back up, especially if Powell ends up kind of giving some kind of dovish verbiage tomorrow, along with some friendly data, along with the geopolitical stuff that's going on. I already see some more headlines coming out that there's not going to be any more attacks, and it's just everywhere with it right now. I mean, like I said, it doesn't take much when you're in a distribution like I said, you can have somebody say, hey, Oreos are no longer going to be a thing anymore, right? Or we're going to stop making Cheerio, and the market will find a way to sell off. It's not really doesn't really depend what the news is. It's once they have the supply, they're going to dump that supply and kind of use news as justification, so people don't think the market are fucking completely rigged, right? Same way we see accumulations happen, right? It's always weird how it starts to sell off in that very, very small incremental lower low fashion into a spot where a lot of people are looking to go short, right? It's very hard to get in. That's what I noticed today. It was very hard to get into that short. If we take a look at like the 5 and the 15, look at this last, I don't even know, the last like 3 hours of the market, 4 hours of the market. See how this is so difficult to get into, right? Every time you try to like, especially thinking like how most retail trades, right? If you try to get in on a new low break, it would barely hover around that old low and then make its way back up, right? And then most people aren't going to short this because they're thinking it's going to reverse, and then it makes a new low and really just kind of hovers around that low all day, right? Very difficult short to get in. There's a lot of volume that kind of came in near these lows down here, right, specifically. And I don't know, just feels a little bit weird with how they're pricing too. They're priced in I guess the call side doesn't have a lot of volatility towards it, so it would make more sense to kind of flush the put side, right, and then reinvigorate the call side with IV. And that could be done very, very easily with news. So something just to keep your eyes on. It's going to take a lot of movement, right? Naturally, You would think this gap here would be a resistance now, but even at that, let's say we don't have that gap act as resistance. You would like to see this recover back to 509, hold 509 because this is such a pivotal part of this chart now. And if it can do that, I think you can really start to base out and build some kind of consolidation here, some kind of flag, whatever it may be. And then I think you can potentially sweep under, mark back up, right, and then get a big move to 512, right? And that would probably take some data. But if you can get back above 512, that's that NFP low. I do think from there you can potentially just get that move straight across, right? Straight across that Friday high. I think that's Friday. Yeah, that Friday high at 515. Get some kind of squeeze out, right? Because this is a gap in itself up into 518. Remember, this fills technically here. Yeah, 518.05. We could just say 518 flat, right? We could just run it down. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what we're looking for. If not, man, I really think worst case scenario is the gap fill, 497.37, and that'd be a big loss for me. And then like I said, my thinking going forward though is I'm really anytime I go through some major drawdown, I really water things down. Like imagine a dog being sick. I'd just rice, chicken, that's it, right? And I think I'm just gonna stick to like SPX, SPY, QQQ, and just trade dark pool prints that are both in pre-market and that have data backing it during the intraday market as well, where I can see actual bids being placed at that level or sell orders being passed or pushed towards that level, and kind of use that as my liquidity draw and then try to play into price moving towards that direction. And I think that will be able to get me back on track pretty quickly. Obviously, red on the year, if this happens as well, I'm expecting drawdown of like 37 to 5K, just depending how this goes. And it's fine, right? It's April. I got plenty of time to make this up. A year is kind of how I usually, that's my barometer for if I'm being successful or not. It doesn't really go day by day, week by week. Obviously, those are little building blocks that lead up into having a successful tenure as a trader. But quarter by quarter, year by year, it's kind of how I look at things and really judge things. So got plenty of time. Can't rush anything. But yeah, tricky market because there's a lot going on in my head. Like in the back of my head, I keep thinking about, everything's rallying. We have commodities going, Bitcoin going, we have equities going. Now, obviously, equities are pulling back, but you have oil. Like, dude, everything's going completely crazy, guys. There's almost no reason to cut rates. But they keep saying they're going to cut rates. You have treasuries or bonds kind of like calling Powell on the bluff as to what he's going to do. Dude, you have some of these names that are still so strong that look like pullbacks, other names that are completely weak that I feel like are being accumulated for earnings, but I could just be wrong on it. You have the Vana charm flow that's here till 419 that is supposed to be supporting the markets, and it's still here. You can see it in the mispricing in fixed rate vol as well. There's just a lot going on, and I mean also an election year that's in the back of my mind. They're really going to let this pull back that heavy, but everybody's bearish, man. And it's crazy. And then obviously tie in the geopolitical news. A lot of stuff's kind of getting to my head, and when that happens, man, I kind of just locked down on the charts. So sorry if I seem a little grumpy. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and you don't really need that excess noise, especially when you're here to just trade charts and just trade price action. Get in, get out, mark your levels, trade your plan. Who cares what anything else is brought up? Whether it's news happening, there's a bombing or whatever, guys. The charts will kind of speak to you, right? And try to get in and out as quickly as you can. And like I said, a lot of these names aren't seeing multiple days of continuation. Today was one of our first few days of continuation. Even just on the 5-minute chart here, you guys can see just how choppy this is. And then it gets a breakout, but that breakout's just pulling you into the previous day's range, right? And this breakdown here pulls down, trades within the that was the NFP low, I think, is it? Yeah, that was the NFP low, right? And then obviously today ended up having one of its first days of real continuation where it broke not only this trading range, but also into a new trading range here, which is being held from 503 to 509. So, yeah, it's just a lot going on, but doesn't take the wind out of my sails. It is what it is. I said it on Twitter, right? Trading's like taking 5 steps forward, taking 3 steps back. and trying to keep that 2 foot lead, you know. And even if you give back those 2 feet, you're right back where you started. You can always build off of that. Even if you take a loss and you go down, right, just slowly, inch by inch, make it easier, right? And that's what it's all about. So um, that's pretty much all I had, right? I don't think I had anything else really crazy going on here. I haven't closed anything else. SPY was it. Yeah, that was the only thing I had open from like last week really that I started. TSM, we'll see how this performs. TSM, I still have literally just a contract here for their earnings date coming up on Thursday. Oh, sorry. But, oh, TSM. Thought I already hit that. But nice little uptrend here, still holding. Right, still holding. So we'll see how that ends up going. Obviously, we wanted to see these equal highs here hold. Not the case, right? In the worst case scenario, you'd probably push down and test. Very, very similar. Oh, Kringle's on. Very, very similar to Celsius, right? Where you might get a push down, obviously break this subjective trend line, but the higher low is actually down here, right? So we might get some fade tomorrow. I don't think 135 is going to happen. If it does, right, I think a lot of people are probably going to go short off this trend line. It might be a good long considering the actual level at 135. I'd probably just hold that. But yeah, unfortunately, we wanted to see this hold here, wherever it was. I think it was like right around there. And then obviously have it mark up from that, break from this lower high that we've kind of created. It's hard range to draw because the wicks have kind of broken out each day a little bit higher. But I think this can potentially trade up to 158, man. I really do. So we'll keep watch on this one. But yeah, earnings tomorrow, PAL tomorrow. So a lot on the table. I just wanted to quickly kind of go over everything that's in my head, everything that's kind of been happening. Because, like I said, guys, it's like even Tesla. When did we take this? We took this, and I closed out on my contract, obviously, that I had. But even Tesla from last week, when I took it here, right? The continuations really aren't much, right? You're getting like a nice breakout, obviously, if you catch the lower wick, which thank God we did, right? Excuse me. We caught it off of this here, right? Which is this gap. We'll just extend this out really quickly. A couple days, like the 20th, right? And we ended up catching it in this wick, and obviously we can get a nice move, but it's not making any significant highs. It's not making a higher high. It's not pushing up, pulling back. It's barely breaking the previous day high. So the only way you're really making any money is if you're catching the lows. It's right the good risk, but the reward is starting to seemingly taper off for a lot of these names. So this name really kind of comes down, dude. If Tesla loses this, I'm going to close my June cons. Being honest, 160.51. Underneath that, I really do think that Tesla could get pretty ugly down to the gap here at like 152. You guys aren't going to be able to see it because it's not going to let me slide that far back. Maybe if I go to the weekly. Yeah, it's not going to let me. But you guys can clearly see like a pivot here on the weekly, right around where the gap's at. So 152 would probably be the next target on Tesla. At that point, it could get nasty. I could see this maybe going down to 101 if earnings are pretty bad. But I mean, even at that, I'd be looking to get some shares of Tesla. Probably not options at that point. That'd be a do not trade for me. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how this ends up looking tomorrow. But yeah, just wanted to go over everything real quick. We're all on the same page. Apple, I did take an add-on today as well. I think Apple's fine. Remember, I took this right off of this spot here. Where was it? I was expecting this to push up and just kind of retest this zone here. And obviously, we pushed down to the lower extreme of that. Remember, this was the old gap here from 3.4 to 3.5. Bullish progression gap. I think this is a good spot, and I took my ads right off of like 172 as we kind of pulled down a little bit here. So that should work out. That's my contract roll. I still have the Junes. So I just kind of rolled into the Mays to be a little bit more aggressive, and then I'm going to be looking for this obviously for earnings. I am going to hold this one to press out to 183 to this gap up here, like 186, right? Those are my two targets. So that's the update. Hopefully this isn't too long, guys. Hopefully my voice doesn't annoy you, but I felt like I wanted to vent and obviously talk about my losses, talk about the one shining star in Celsius, and yeah, just kind of chat with you guys. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember what I said. I'm just going to be really locked down. SPX, QQQ, SPY, and then obviously adds into a lot of my swings in terms of earnings exposure. Oh yeah, Roku. I'll probably add into this again here. We did crack a little bit of the low right here. I would like to see us get back above this 59.89, and I'll add back into it. But it's right at that sweep low. So I'm keeping my eyes on this. Cathie Woods just bought today as well. Earnings for them are coming up here very, very soon. They're coming up on the 25th, so 10 days. And I definitely want to get some exposure on this name because, like I said, I think we go up to the 71 gap, 72 gap, and then obviously probably grab some shares too. I do think this eventually gets back up into this spot up here, 90 flat. And yeah, I mean, this chart looks good. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'll go ahead and get you out of here. See ya.